Hey everyone, this is Michael Giacchino, and you're listening to Across the Bifrost.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if it be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Doze, joined today by one other member, just one, not both, one other member of the Warriors 3. Will Rose is here to talk about the first episode of Season 2 of Loki on Disney+. Will, Season 2 finally here. Are you ready to chat about the God of Mischief?
Oh boy, am I ever. And I'm just time slipping in and out of here, ready to do it. Ready to do it. I may go into the past to warn you that this podcast is going to go wrong or bad or great. You know, there may be some version of me that goes into the
Who
past.
knows?
Send you a warning from the past.
There,
but
I yes, if future Will could give me a warning if this goes well or not, that'd be awesome.
okay.
It's like
we'll
in
see.
1, 2, 3. Oh no,
Ryan, I'm
I think
here
it's
to
gonna
tell
go pretty
you that
well then.
things go great. Your kids may interrupt you a couple of times, but don't get
Oh.
upset. Don't get upset. They're just being kids. You're fine. It doesn't bother kids. The audience loves to hear real life happen on. So it's
Everybody.
like therapy to them. Everybody. So all right. Oh, here I go. Okay, I'm
if
back.
you want to find out what Will is referring to, check out our pregame when things went totally according to plan. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
So on today's episode, we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 1, Ouroboros, who is not only a fantastic new character, but introduces the actor Ke Huy Quan to the MCU. He is in the midst of a career resurgence, and we're so happy to see him in Loki Season 2. But like our mainstays are back as well. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Sophia Di Martino as Sylvie. Obviously, Owen Wilson is back. You know, wow, it's so good to see that Owen Wilson is back as Mobius.
Wow.
Our usual cast of Loki characters are all back. And we
Hunter
haven't
B-15.
seen.
I love Hunter B-15.
Oh my gosh.
She is so good. And her existential questions in this episode of whether life is worth it or not is fantastic. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah,
she was definitely a highlight of the episode. I felt like a lot of the deconstructing themes of the people within the TVA were very powerful. And obviously, if your whole belief system came crumbling down in one fell swoop, how would you react? Some of them in the episode, they double down on the fact that their belief system is falling apart, and others completely like, what do? We don't understand all these changes. And then you have people like Loki that are trying to convince other people like, no, the dynamic has shifted, everything
and
is
there's
different.
Another different threat that's going to let's put our resources there. But yeah, I think Mobius says once, he's like, what will people do when people discover everything they're doing is wrong and their gods are dead? And I'm like, whoa, boy, that's a sentence, you know.
Boy, howdy, Will.
Talking about being woke or waking up to the reality around you, and the construction, deconstruction, reconstruction. What is life? What is meaning? What do I do? What's my purpose? All those things.
Really, of all the episodes, Will, we probably should have had Trip Fuller riding shotgun on this one.
That's right. Well,
probably
when the season's done,
yeah,
we'll be able to pull him aside and get a hot take in a few weeks.
Ooh,
that's what we'll do.
Hey,
that's what we'll do.
I'm sure when in a few weeks, Will and I will be together in person, covering one of the episodes of Loki. I believe it'll be either episode 3 or 4. We will be in person covering that episode side by side, and maybe we can rope in somebody that's super smart and smarter than we are to talk about this amazing show.
Or we'll be together. We can watch it that Thursday night together later on the night. Could be in the same and do like a live reaction as we're watching. That could happen. Folks, the branches are just branching out of time possibilities. Time branches are just who knows what needs pruning and what will go down, what road will go down.
Will, so listener, you can clearly tell Will came primed with all the
I did.
low-key like TVA language,
I
because we've
did.
already mentioned time slipping, we've already mentioned pruning. We will probably mention the temporal core at some point. One thing I was going to say about the time slipping, Will, before we get into a brief synopsis of the episode, is when they mentioned time slipping for the first time, I couldn't help but think of the Space Jam song where time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Holy shit, this episode is entirely just a reference to Space Jam. It's totally just a reference to Space Jam. On the post for social media this week, listener, you can guarantee I will be hitting the Space Jam music, like background music, like so hard. So
yeah, Steve Miller Band, baby. Steve Miller Band. Let's do it.
Okay, everybody, let's get into our synopsis of Ouroboros, the first episode from season 2 of Loki, and then we will give you some of our thoughts about the episode. Yeah, that's usually how these reviews go, Will. We give people very original takes that they haven't heard anywhere else. They can only hear here on Across the Bifrost. And yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that right now. So we begin season 2 of Loki right where season 1 left off. Loki is teleported via Sylvie kicking him through a time door. He is transported right back to the TVA, but it's not the TVA that we know and love from the most of season 1 of Loki. A lot of people don't even know who Loki is, and then he begins to do what Will has already referenced. He begins to time slip in between the past, the present, and the future. And at different points in the timeline of the sacred timeline, certain things have happened that give Loki a clue as to where he currently is before he then is kind of MC Escher painting, like reformed. And then it kind of reminds me of in Harry Potter when they apparate? When they apparate and they kind of like get all jumbled up and then they show up again. I'm probably a Harry Potter fan. Please correct me if I'm wrong there. But he is slipping in between past, present, and future, and he's trying to warn people like, hey, something is happening to me. I don't know how to stop this. And we see different, we see Mobius show up, Hunter B-15, and then we find out that Hunter B-15 and Mobius are being brought to the war room where the more military inclined leaders of the TVA are formulating their response to the timekeepers being like not a thing anymore. Their whole belief system is coming down, as we referenced in the open. One particular character, General Dox, is not having this new we need to change and we need to stop pruning people. She is not having it. She is kind of our antagonist for this episode because she is full steam ahead. We need to prune timelines and we need to go after the variant Sylvie, who has caused all this problems by killing he who remains at the end of time. That is, of course, how season 1 ended. In the midst of this, we have to stop Loki from time slipping. So we meet our new character for this season, Ouroboros, or OB, as Mobius calls him all the time, because they're such good friends.
Not Obi-Wan, a different.
No, different franchise that Will would get just as excited about. But OB comes up with a way to stop Loki from time slipping, and it's a combination of past OB and current OB in between Loki time slipping that helps him come up with the solution. They need a temporal aura extractor to get Loki's aura from the raw influx of time energy coming into something called the loom, where all the different strands of time are being woven into the sacred timeline. They need to get this. We need to prune Loki. We need to kill him on purpose. And then in the midst of all this time energy going into the temporal loom, we use the temporal aura extractor to get Loki out of it before his essence can be woven into the timeline. So a lot of drama happens. Mobius is the one that has to use the temporal aura extractor at the right time to get Loki out of the stream. And there's a lot of drama and big music, and there's lots of Mobius.
And the show's named Loki. There's no reason to think they're not gonna do this, because then the show would be over. You grab a different, I mean, I guess, but I'm on the edge of my seat going, is this gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? And the way they create with the music and the going and the urgency, I'm like, why am I sitting on the edge of my seat? Of my seat? Of course they're gonna grab Loki and they're gonna get to this because we have like 5 more episodes to go. But anyway, yeah, they did it. They did a good job.
With Loki successfully pulled from the time stream, Loki and Mobius set out to go find Sylvie, because that's who everyone's looking for at this point. And that's when they come across General Dox basically raiding the armory. And how do you say this? She's like on the warpath.
Yeah.
She is going to find somebody at some time, and she is bringing on a lot of hardware with her to do it. In the mid-credit scene, we see Sylvie pop up for the first time in the episode. Well, she popped up for like a brief second as like a
flashback,
as a flashback vision that Loki has. But we see her in the current timeline, in Broxton, Oklahoma, of all places. That little title graphic made me so happy. My little nerdy comic book fan heart was so warmed by that. She's in 1982. She, of course, is at a McDonald's restaurant, because if you're unaware, there's been a lot of McDonald's cross promotion with Loki leading up to the release of this season.
But they don't name McDonald's or show the thing. They definitely name drop Big Mac and Chicken McNuggets. But if you don't see the big golden arches, you don't see that.
Nope.
They at least hold back a little bit.
They held back a little. It was, but it's clearly a McDonald's. It's like we did everything. We told you it was McDonald's without telling you it was McDonald's. So that is how the episode ends. And she says, I want to try everything. So that's how episode 1 of Loki season 2, entitled Ouroboros, ends. Will, give me one of your favorite things from the episode. What was one of your favorite things from our first episode?
Well, I didn't know, part of like waiting years for this thing to come back out, how my big kind of geek anxiety is, how are they going to jump into this story? What's the opening scene? What's going to happen? And are they going to time jump? Are we going to go to some future dystopia? Is Kang going to show up right from the very beginning and start narrating with an opening crawl? I don't know what's going to happen, but like the fact that it started exactly where the last season ended, with him just booting it down a hallway, I loved it so much. So here we are, right where we're going, pick up right where you turn the page on the book and it's the next chapter immediately. So I love that part, but you're not in the same place because you see the different kind of statues. We saw the Time Lord statues. They are not real. They're just robots. They're a figment or just a place to, a false narrative that they're pushing on the TVA. But then you see these statues of Kang around, and I'm like, okay, something different's happened. And I will say the time slipping and going back and forth, it's just brilliantly written and acted. And I just love that. I was gripped just to see how are they going to do those things. And when he was time slipping and Mobius is trying to figure out what's going on, they're like, is it how does it look? Does it look bad? What's going on? Like, what does this look like to you? And he's trying to play it off like it's not that bad. It's just not that bad. At one point, Mobius looks at Loki and he's like, oh gosh, it is bad. I'm sorry, I can't hold back anymore. It looks horrible. It looks like you're being born and dying.
That was
all
so
at
good.
the same time. He's like, it's like you're being born and dying. All that, yeah, it's freaking me out, man. Like all that stuff. And then you have the like girl in the corner just looking and staring like, what the hell is going on? Brilliant.
Mobius turns around and is like, does it look as bad as I, and then you go to this, you pan to this terrified woman who's like, what in God's name is happening here?
so that was good. It moves the story line a little bit further. It doesn't share that much new about in terms of the splintering times, the multiverse, but they're telling the multiverse in a way that's not as convoluted, I think, as other Marvel properties or other movies or what's going on. Like you see the branches, you see what's going on, something's happening. There's questioning of whether this should be pruned or not, you really feel it for all the characters that are in there, and so well acted and written, and just fast paced. And man, fantastic first episode. I'm in now that I know what they're doing. I kind of what we're in for. Let's do it. Let's see some more Loki variants. I don't know if we'll see more Loki variants. I guarantee you, probably.
You know
We'll
what?
see an alligator. We'll probably see a kid, old, young. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
A kid, an old, a young. I do like that you picked up on the idea that we're starting right off from the end of, like, no time has elapsed. And
Right.
to my recollection, Will, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't actually check this beforehand. Is this the second season we've gotten of an MCU show?
Yep. I
So
saw the other day. No other shows have gotten green lit for a season 2 just yet. We hear about it. There's the things coming. Perhaps they're building to other movies or whatever is going on. But yeah, Loki was one of the first ones, and now we're getting a season 2, so they've had time to do it, and we're rocking and rolling.
So along that note, I mean, we're starting off right where season 1 ended, and we really, this episode is a lot of just fallout from the end of season 2, from the end of season 1, because season 1 ends so dramatically. It ends so drastically, where that whole, so when they get into the situation with He Who Remains, that episode is actually, it's just a conversation. Like, they're just having a conversation, and there's like a small fight scene at the end. It was kind of the anti-MCU closing scene. It was a big, of course they fight the big monster at the end, and they get to the house at the end of time, and they meet He Who Remains. But then a lot of that last episode is just a conversation they're having.
Yeah.
It's just 3 actors in a scene having a very intense conversation. And then of course Sylvie, is like, nope. She has a Peter Quill moment where she's like, nope, you still killed my mom. And then she's like, she ends him and kicks Loki through the time door.
But that was,
I loved that episode.
There was it was brilliant because they built so much mystery. Who's behind all this? What's going on for over a number of episodes, and then you get to that one, and then they do explain a lot. And it opens the door to other properties about like a multiverse and what's going on, and the next big baddie for the MCU, which is still in limbo whether that's he is or not because of other things. But the fact that like that scene explained so much and did so much. I think other Marvel properties, TV shows, looking at you, some of Star Wars stuff, like they leave a lot to be left out there for you to fill in the blanks rather than, I don't need to be force fed, but a couple extra scenes of dialogue and explanation and filling in some of the gaps to help us bring along to share the depth of the story that's going on can help and can help the story and pulls you in even further. So the way they ended last season and pulled you into this one, and there's still the conversations going on that are happening with all the players at stake. There's still a sense of urgency, and looking forward to see what happens the rest of the season. I'm in.
Yeah, the introducing the time slipping, I agree, is one of those, like, it's just, honestly, it's just a cool visual in the beginning of this episode. And it looks like from some of the previews that we've seen of other parts of the season, maybe the time slipping doesn't go away, or Loki is able to harness it more, because there's times where he's definitely blipping in and out of scenes later on in the season, from what I gleaned from previews and trailers and stuff like that. So I love the time slipping as a visual. And of course, the time slipping introduces a character that is brand new to us, Ouroboros, who's played by Ki Kwan. And Will, what did you think of adding this actor who is in the middle of kind of a career resurgence, coming back onto the scene after decades of not being really in Hollywood doing much? What did you think about Ki Kwan coming back into, he's in the MCU now, but also this character of Ouroboros?
He was perfect for this role, and the fact that
totally agree.
We were joking a little bit. It's like we have a hard time pronouncing his name. We don't want to butcher it. We want to respect it, but also we don't want to resort to saying Short Round or Data. And he was in some of my favorite movies growing up with Indiana Jones and
He is
Goonies, and
iconic.
he's
Like,
iconic. And he was in another multiverse movie not that long ago that just racked in the awards and acclaims. Everything All at Once. I think there's extra lines in there somewhere, but the fact that he's back here doing this, and I was questioning why he wasn't in the last Indiana Jones movie. That played around with time travel. You could easily play around with him making a cameo in that one, since he had a big role in Indiana Jones. Well, now we know he was in Loki season 2. He was working on that. So he can't do everything. He can't do everything. I was wondering why he wasn't in Indiana Jones, but it looks like because he was working hard on Loki season 2. So yeah, that's a fantastic character, and perfectly played, and interested to see what he does, or how he shows up the rest of the season or not.
Yeah, so with Ouroboros, the characters specifically, I would love to get your thoughts on this, because he is the only major addition to the cast as of right now. So
Right.
I loved that he is he's so odd. He's a technical kind of wizard, which is, not unlike a lot of characters he's played in the past. So there is a certain familiarity with, he's time displaced Data to a point, and he's got his gadgets and his way of figuring things out, like he did his Short Round. Like, there's some familiarity with him playing this character, but him now as an adult walking into this character that has these weird tics and this weird neuroses. Like, he has inside jokes with Mobius from one moment from 400 years ago, where Mobius is trying to play it off like, oh, no, come on, we're buddies. So there's a little bit of gullibility to Ouroboros' character, but he's supremely intelligent, but he's also incredibly gullible and childlike. I love the duality of that they can exist at both times.
And the way they talk about time is a part of it. Like, for us, yeah, 400 years is an extreme long amount of time, but for them, it's not that big deal. It's like happened yesterday, or just a couple of days ago. What it reminded me of is Office Space. The guy who's put down in the basement asking, "Where's my stapler?"
So true.
They finally find him down there, and I just needed Obi to just say, "Oh yeah, where's my stapler, Mobius? I need my stapler." That's what I needed.
Because
But
he's not dumb. He's not dumb. He's just
he's got it all
lonely
figured
and
out.
gullible.
He's just lonely, gullible, and waiting for something all the way down at the last floor on the very bottom of this time agency. And so yeah, time slips away. He gets lost in time. He gets forgotten. People just send him their gadgets that need fixing. He sends it right back up. So they don't even know who's behind all this.
Really, all he's doing is just banging on it with a hammer. But it's a very specific kind of banging on it with a hammer.
Yeah.
I loved the point where they're devising their plan to cure the time slipping with Loki, and there's different kind of possibilities of things that could happen to them if this goes wrong. And he tells Mobius, like, well, your skin could just start, coming off. Like, your skin can start peeling off. And Mobius is like, how is that not worse than what could happen to Loki? Like, how is that not worse?
Well, and then the fact that he kept talking about it's impossible. He's like, oh, but that's impossible. They're like, but it's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And they keep
There's no time slipping in the TVA, but it's happening right now. You're seeing it.
You're looking at it right in the face. So again, that belief, unbelief, skepticism, while it's right in front of your face, playing along with time or not, is super trippy, but super fun. And I think you kept it fun, but there's a sense of urgency there, with what's going on. And yeah, and I'm done with like thinking how this is going to impact the major MCU movies, the Marvels, or whatever movie's coming up next. It's like, let's let this be a TV show on itself. It's going to have an effect. There's going to be, it's going to have impact in other places, but it's taken me a few years. But now I'm not looking for the end credit scene is going to lead to the next movie or next big baddie. Let's just enjoy what it's doing, the acting that's happening, and I was able to do that with this particular episode, going into the series.
Have you truly become the chillest of Wills? Are you now Will who remains?
I'm the chill. I'm the chillest who remains. The chill who remains.
He is the chillest who
Unless
remains.
the chill who remains.
Will has pruned all other angsty or overly thinking other Wills.
Yeah, until that person pops back in again unexpectedly, and then we wrestle to the ground, which could be happening.
He is Will who remains. That is, oh gosh. Oh man, maybe that's a t-shirt. Maybe that's a t-shirt we come up with. One other, two other things I just wanted to dig into, and then like, Will, if you want to throw a conversation starter in here somewhere, please do. Tom Hiddleston returning as Loki for the millionth time, it feels like. I was set straight a little bit about Tom Hiddleston's Loki. And of course, the character of Loki doesn't have a lot to do with the Time Variance Authority from the hallowed comic books upon which this is based. Yeah. But Loki has been, he's been inserted into this world, and I was sharing a few of my thoughts, my first impressions of this episode with some very dear friends, Haley Hobbs and who is that other guy? He was
1/3,
like a warrior.
Another 1/3 of us.
Member.
Oh, 1/3 of us.
Faz.
Yeah,
I was sharing my thoughts with Faz, and I was like, oh, but he doesn't feel like Loki anymore. Like, why doesn't he feel like the Loki from my childhood? And they were both like, well, he's growing as a character. And we're like, I was like, yeah, but I don't know, like he can grow, but as long as it doesn't grow too much. And I just felt like, I felt gross looking back on the conversation. I was like, oh, I sound like the worst. But one thing got brought up that I think is a fair criticism, feels too dramatic, but a fair observation, that because Loki is not outrightly villainous anymore, or even really an anti-hero, that he might be trending in the direction of a generic Marvel lead. And I don't fully know what that means. So if you're listening right now and you're like, Ryan, you're completely off your rocker, I'm here to agree with you that I'm probably off my rocker with this one. But
there's our shirt. There's our shirt. Chill Will sitting beside the generic Marvel lead, having coffee together.
Generic Marvel lead. But Will, with Loki as a character, like, how do you feel like, where do you feel like we're trending with him as a character, that he's leading the show, he's not really villainous anymore, he's doing the right thing by trying to save the TVA, or at least the people within the TVA? What were your vibes from Loki himself as a character in this episode?
Well, I was reflecting when they did that short recap, I was reminded how brilliant it was to pull this particular Loki from the first Avengers movie into this, and not have all the other 10 years of movies. I mean, of course, in season 1, he looks at the movie screen, he sees his life flash before his eyes, and some character growth and his relationship with Thor and Thanos. So he's like, wow, I did that. That happened to me. That would have happened to me if I hadn't been zapped back here by the cosmic cube and pulled out by the TVA. And I was thinking how brilliant it was that they were able to pull that particular Loki out of the first Avengers movies, so that he could have his own particular character growth within this series on itself, and not have to worry about the other stuff going on beyond it. So that was my first reaction. And then I was able to sit with who he is, this particular one, and the character growth he had over last season, and meeting his various variants, and kissing his own female self, and all those things. What was next for him? So I was able to let go with that short little recap, and I like him. Of course, it goes without saying, Tom Hiddleston and Loki, and what he does, and what he does with his character specifically in this series. But yeah, I'm there. I'm with it. I thought that was brilliant for what they did for him for this particular series, and then to bring him to this point, the character growth he's already had. I'm ready to see what happens next.
And I agree with you. After being, soundly put in my place by good, trusted friends, and opening myself up to growth myself, I am pleased to say that I like that it hasn't just been 10 plus years of retreads.
Yeah.
Because what really does that say about a character if we only let them mature to a certain point and then we stop their growth just because we deem it a fitting place to end? I mean, look at human experience. Human experience is not like that, but oftentimes we expect that out of our characters. We are in a constant state of changing and growing and evolving, but our characters cannot evolve, change, and grow past the point that we deem it acceptable for them to grow. And I think that's maybe a little bit of where my critique was coming from, is that I wanted more familiarity out of the character. I wanted more status quo, but then I looked at how stories are reflected in my own life. Man, if you took me from 10 years ago and you're like, why isn't Ryan today more like Ryan from 10 years ago? And Ryan today looks at that and he's like, thank God I am not who I was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Ryan, he was a riot. And maybe not in the fun way. That was pre me being married, pre me being a dad, pre Will and I knowing each other. So there's so many things that I've added and grown and changed through. And I think sometimes if we allow our characters to do that too, we not only learn more about the character, but we then can learn about ourselves in a reflection of a character evolving and changing. So Haley, Faz, you two are amazing, and you've put me in my place adequately, and I now see where you were coming from. One last thing I wanted to mention here was actually something I didn't even plan on talking about, was that thing we talked about at the beginning of a literally a belief system that falls apart, because that's what's happening to the TVA. And like, I don't mean for us to get like crazy spiritual and all weird with listeners, but that is what's happening. That is what's happening in this episode. Loki has to deliver knowledge to a TVA that their status quo is built on a false belief. That is not a small thing.
And it's being delivered by who? The god of lies. And the god of lies, but he's actually telling the truth. So the irony that's there isn't lost on me when it comes to that here he is, who is the only one really telling the truth, but he is the god of lies, god of mischief, shenanigans. But everyone else is trying to figure out how to put this together or not, what it means for them or not, and countless lives lost or saved, and it's for the good of the whole if we do prune. All those things are happening. And not to get super weird and spiritual with everybody here too, but that's happening in our society. It's happening on every level and every system that we're a part of. And so, as you shared, how do we do that? How do we get through it? Well, where there's friends, there's teammates, as you said, there's the Warriors 3. You had some friends who were there to support you, to bring you back on an insignificant thing like how you visualize and sit with Loki. But there's other bigger things that we do this in community with. So wherever you are out there, know you're not alone, and reach out to somebody, talk to somebody, someone you trust, a friend, a community group, and you don't have to go through life alone. We all have it. We talked about one of our favorite Thor arcs is by Jason Aaron, where he deconstructs and asks the question all the time, what gods are worthy or not. But then he has a story arc of young unworthy Thor hanging out with middle-aged Thor, hanging out with old Odin Thor, and they're all in the same room having to work together as a team to defeat a villain.
Yeah.
And man, I can't imagine if 50-year-old Will had to hang out with seminarian Will and then 15-year-old Will. Man, can you imagine what that would be like in that room? Man, I can't. But hopefully we'd be able to, there's some continuity there. We're still the same person, and we can look each other in the eye and work together as a team, even though it might be difficult. So I think about that all the time, and how that works in my own lives, how I've evolved, and how I have been humbled. But also there's continuity there. There's still things and values that hold me together and pull me through, and that I hold on to, and a firm foundation that I try to stand on. So all those things are coming in and out together at the same time.
And I'm not saying that when Eric Martin sat down to write this episode, or when Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, when they went to direct this episode, when Tom Hiddleston came to season 2. I'm not saying that they are like, okay, let's talk about deconstructing belief systems and what it would mean for your entire worldview to shift. Like, I'm not saying that is an intended theme of this season, but it's very hard for me to think that wasn't a conversation along the way at some point. And
it's in the water. It's in the water that we're all swimming in, and it's in the zeitgeist of what's happening in our society. So you can't ignore it. It's definitely a part of what's going on. It was leading up to the pandemic. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and then it was accelerated by the pandemic to where we are now, trying to figure out what the new normal is. So, yeah, it's there. It's there. They're gonna say that we're gonna have a fun. It's a comic book show, and a good characters. We're gonna have fun along the way, but there's an underlying theme there that I think they're leaning into, that it's not by accident that's what they're doing.
So I really enjoyed that, and it wasn't one of my first reactions to the show, that especially in that scene in the war room where Loki says, you know, I know what's going on here, and like what he's trying to explain to Mobius, and he grabs the pruning stick from Hunter X5 or something like that, and he literally shows them that their idealized belief system in the Timekeepers is literally a facade. It is literally a facade, and underneath there is truth underneath that. The truth that they think the truth that they've staked their lives on is a facade to a deeper, darker truth. And then when they are literally shown that, they have to reconcile with it. The point of no return has been reached. You either double down on it, say that it's fake news, it's a lie, it's a sham, it's whatever. Or you face the dark truth, you face the new reality, and you force yourself to reconcile with it. Either it leads you to unbelief or it leads you to a different belief. Now, for some people listening to this right now, that's hitting fairly harder than you thought an MCU show would hit. Now that I'm getting to talk about it with one of the people I love and trust the most in the world, I am faced with kind of a deeper meaning of this episode now too. Loki, Will said this, the irony, the absolute blinding irony that the God of lies is the only one that knows the truth is astounding. It's fantastic. And I can't, there's no way that's not intentional, but I have a feeling a lot of people are going to miss that. A lot of people might miss that. And hey, I haven't watched or listened to any reviews of Loki. I don't need to know really any other reviews. I want to kind of keep it fresh for myself. But that irony of the God of lies is the only person that knows the truth. And he is the one that is delivering this truth to the people that are having this facade broken. And he is the one that is introducing this moment of, I have to reconcile with what I'm being told with the new information that is being cast in front of me. That's all. Like so now, and it's so current, and it's so potent in its rawest form right here. So, Will, do you have any other final thoughts on Loki season 2, episode 1, Ouroboros?
Hey, just FYI, right now it's 8.2 stars trending reviews out there. I'm not gonna ruin it. There you go. It's up there. It's got it. No, I think we've said all that needs to be said. It continues the story, but then it all sets up for the rest of this season. And Sylvie, what am I saying right? Am I saying it right? Yeah.
Who's Sylvie?
What is that? Silva Star. Silva Sofa.
I believe the band's name is Saliva, Will.
Saliva. Silva Sofa. Sylvie is the hunt for her and the quest to find her. But my question is, all right, you find her, what do you think what's that gonna do? What's next? The other, the war machine is ready to take her out. They're thinking that's going to help, but all right, Mobius and Loki find her. what's next, and that's what I'm kind of ready for. I just looking at the date, so it's 6 episodes long, right? All right, we're gonna be together October 19th, episode 3. So we
Ooh,
can watch
episode
that.
3.
We can watch it together, and we'll also be together for North Carolina Comic-Con on November 2nd, November 3rd, that we can watch episode 5 together as
What?
well.
So
Yeah,
much Ryan and Will
that's right.
live.
So we can do, the odd episodes, 1, 3, 5. There you go.
Wow. Wow. And hopefully on some of these episodes we can get the Fast Guardian back into the rotation.
Haley.
He had a oh, you know what? I've let's just put it this way, Will. We'll talk offline about who I've had some ideas about. I think it's a
Trip?
pretty fantastic slate. Oh, I don't think we can handle Trip Fuller on this.
Logan,
you
your
know
son,
what?
bring him in right now. Right now.
Oh
Bring him
no. Logan didn't want to watch Loki with me because he said it was, quote, too scary.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what parts, but hey, I trust him. He's a pretty intuitive 6-year-old. But yes, everybody, that is the end of our review for Loki season 2, episode 1, the premiere of our latest chapter in the adventure of the God of Mischief. And I hope you were able to take something from this review that maybe you didn't get somewhere else. But if if this was just another review that you listened to and you were able to maybe you were able to chuckle a little bit, think a little bit, and be like, what, that's a good idea. Maybe if you're able to do those things, hey, we call that a win. We call that a win no matter what. So everybody, we're going to be back next week with episode 2. And you might be wondering, maybe you're one of those comic book fans. It's like, hold on, is Loki taking over until the end of the season? Yes, it is taking over till the end of the season, but we will find a way to get you a review of the next issue of Immortal Thor. We'll figure that out. You guys don't need to worry about that. You guys just worry about enjoying Loki and enjoying Immortal Thor and enjoying, reading whatever you're enjoying. We'll take care of the, quote unquote, hard work of getting you your Thor themed content as soon as we possibly can. There is one last thing that I want to give a note for, a change that is coming in the next month with my creative pursuits as a whole. So for the longest time, my wife and I, Kim, who's been on a few episodes of Across the Bifrost, but I mean, back in the before times when she couldn't just I would be like, hey babe, you want to do an episode with me? She'd be like, can't you get someone else to do it? I'd be like, oh come on, it'll be fun. But she and I have talked for a long time about consolidating kind of our creative efforts. She has some creative goals that she'd like to reach, and obviously I enjoy podcasting and I don't see that changing anytime soon. We've been talking about how to really form that all into one cohesive thing, and so that's going to happen on November 1st. We are going to be launching a endeavor. My wife and I are going to be rebranding our creative efforts under one banner, and that is the Many Paths banner. That is going to be what we're going to call this endeavor. It is actually based on a poem by J.R.R. Tolkien. It goes something like this. It says, "The road goes ever on, and on down from the door where it began. Now far ahead, the road has gone, and I must follow, if I can, pursuing with eager feet, until it joins some larger way where many paths and errands meet." We read that poem forever ago, and we've been inspired by it to really collaborate together and enjoy our many paths and form them into a larger path. So that is really the heart behind it. That is the what and the why. And then on November 1st will be when those things are going to change. We'll be letting you know a little bit more about this moving forward. And there's going to be a few changes to Across the Bifrost coming up soon as well. So you are going to be in the know, listeners. And if you're on Patreon, you're going to know a little bit more, a little bit earlier. So if you want to know more about it, keep listening. If you want to know more about it on Patreon, join Patreon, and we will still have all of that going through this change and this shake up. But it's hopefully going to be something that can produce more creativity. It can produce more paths being enjoyed into one larger path, kind of like a temporal loom that is weaving all the raw strands of time. That thing from Loki that was very important this week. But that's a little bit of news that I have for you this week, everybody. And I hope that, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. It's not going to be a crazy big thing, but hopefully it leads to some other cool opportunities for us. So that is it for our episode today. For myself, for Will Rose, this has been Across the Bifrost. If you want to talk to us, reach out to us on Instagram at Mighty Thor Podcast. You can support us on Patreon at the link in our episode description. Join the Thor Corps for just a few bucks a month, and you're going to get our pregame that we already talked about, our fun pregame where we shared a few different stories that I think you would enjoy. But until next time, until the next episode of Loki, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever you got going on this week, just remember to stay worthy.